Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. I was going to try and squeeze in making another mock-up jacket, but I didn't quite have time, so we are going to look at some of my old beaded jackets, the finished ones.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
I really loved the last layer cake dress that I made, so I got all excited after I'd posted that video, and I started working on the brown one. So I've done a little bit of work on that, but it is nowhere near finished. And yeah, it was time to put it aside and make a jacket. And I'm sorry, my voice is husky. It's practically, and I sound like I'm whispering it. I've practically lost my voice, but yeah, so I'm feeling a little under the weather. So I decided to just get out some of my favorite jackets that I haven't had out in a while and show them to you. This one here, the tweed, is amazing. Of course, it's from Linton Tweed. Well, if you're not familiar with tweed, you might not know that, but this is a very, it's very obviously a Linton Tweed from about a decade or 15 years ago. It's quite old, I guess. I've got one here with a white base, and this one is on a cream, and I loved it so much. I got the white one, and then 6 months later they did this cream colored version, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I bought enough for 3 jackets, so I made one is just plain tweed with teal beaded trim. Then this one has orange, apricot and sort of lemony yellow beads, and then the other one is the pastel Monet. I call it the Monet jacket. And here I'm just showing you how beautiful and shapely this jacket is, particularly from the back. That's what I love about a princess seam jacket. Like, you just can work out your measurements to the millimeter or half millimeter. Because it's a French jacket, you talk about it in metric, not, and this is me showing you the beautiful beads. I also handmade the fringe myself, but the beads, I originally was going to put them on this Chanel jacket, and not this Chanel, but a different Chanel tweed, the orange one, and I ended up putting the green beads on that one instead. And this is one of my absolute favorite Chanel tweeds. It's so hideous, but I just love it. It's like, you wouldn't think khaki green, olive, mauve, and that fluoro neon yellow would all go together, but they just, I don't know. I love it. It's adorable. And here I'm showing you a close-up of all the different beads. See those lines? They're actually sequins, and I've used them as a bead. So there's like 30 or 40 sequins strung on instead of doing a little string of seed beads or something like that. So you put down, a lot of people recently have asked me about how you make beaded trim. You make it separately, and then you stitch it onto the jacket. That's the sort of point of the trim. You don't have to work directly onto the jacket. So I do have a couple of videos that I made when I first started this channel. So like 3 years ago. Goodness. And I show you how you do it. I'm the only person who does it that I know of. Oh, and I'm thinking of redoing it, this beaded trim. So I thought they would look good, but I don't know, they're a little bit too yellowish. Anyway, how you make the beaded trim is you sort of measure with a bit of ribbon how much you need. You have to make the jacket first, because the jacket always turns out slightly different. Oh, and this is me showing you that the khaki in the actual tweed, that's what matches the silk of the lining. So if you don't know the colours of the tweed, I mean, I hand stitched it to the backing fabric. I know exactly what colours are in there. So yeah, but if you don't know what colours are in the tweed, then the dark green of the silk lining might not make sense. And so with the beaded trim, what you do is you use a bit of ribbon to just measure. You pin it in place, and then you carefully unpin it from the jacket and pin it to itself, because around the neckline you have to make it go round. It's not just straight bits of ribbon, you have to fold it back on itself. That's how you get your template for how big your beaded trim will be. It's usually about 2 or 2.5 times as much beaded trim that you need, that you assume you will need. And also don't forget the cuffs. And on this one here, I've also got pocket tops. There's no actual pockets, but I went through this phase when I started beading where I was like, oh, I'll do pocket tops as well. Some of the jackets have lower pocket tops, and then this one has faux upper pocket tops. And what I love about this is I've got those kids beads with the letters on them, and I put those ones down first, and they perfectly match. All the beads in there perfectly match the colors. Like I just went so obsessively, picked out every color in the tweed. Again, it's a Linton Tweed. Linton Tweeds in the UK. Just Google it. It's the first thing that comes up. And they do release new tweeds twice a week. No, I'm not paid. I'm just telling you because everyone asks. And as you can see, it's another one of the orange silk jackets. I love that silk. It feels beautiful as well. It's just, I mean, all silk feels beautiful, but you know how some colours the dye is a little harder and some colours the dye is a little softer, just, you know, different chemicals make different colours. The burnt orange is just, it's a beautiful, soft, buttery silk. It's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, how you make the beaded trim. First of all, you have to work out how much you need. Next, it's like several different layers, and you need a really strong, stiff base. So I just use the leftover offcuts of my stiff netting. After I've made the jacket, there's always like a couple of bits of scraps, and I cut them into 1 inch wide, or if I'm doing a thick beaded trim, then I cut it into 2-inch wide strips. Pin them all together until it's in the right shape, and then just stitch it all together. Now that you have your base, the next thing you need to do is lay down some sequins, because the netting isn't strong enough as a base. I personally feel that you need to add a layer of big sequins, and then once you stitch those down, then you can start doing the beading. And I do the big beads first, and then I do the medium beads, and then I do the small beads. But I'll add a card, or in the description box I'll put links to a couple of different videos where I beaded the trim, made the whole beaded trim from the start to finish. And then I think in a couple of them I actually attach it to the jacket as well, which is the most difficult part, because you just literally do not have... Oh, and this is me showing you that in the jacket that I showed you, the Chanel tweed, this one here has the same yellow yarn in it as this old Chanel tweed that I've had for absolutely ages. I love this one. Anyway, so yeah, description box below. But I will be doing another jacket where I make a beaded trim in the semi-near future. I don't know. They take a long time to make, and they're really hard to do as well. So I will do one, but you need lots of space and time, and I'm kind of a little short of both at the moment. Anyway, this one, I absolutely love this tweed, because from far away it looks kind of boring and bland and maybe grey or something. But when you get up close, it's just this mix of like every colour under the rainbow, as well as black and yellow. And I don't know, it's just so fabulous. I did go a little bit overboard on the beading with this one, which is fine if you have like an 8-hour day. But if your workday extends more than 10 hours or so, it does, you do tend to start to feel it on your shoulders. But I don't know, it's so pretty and it looks so vintage. I absolutely love it. I do sometimes think, well, maybe I should undo it and redo the beading with smaller, lighter ones. But I don't know. I've got so many other jackets, tweeds that haven't even been made into jackets yet. I love this tweed. This is another Chanel tweed, and it was eye-wateringly expensive, but it's totally worth it. So it's navy and white, and then it's got fluoro yarn in there as well as this flagged like cut up tiny little bits of tied ribbon in there. It's just amazing. And I don't really like the beaded trim that I made. You can't tell, but instead of using a sequin base for my beaded trim, I used Chanel ribbon. When you buy something from a shop, it goes in a box and then they wrap the box in ribbon and tie a big bow on it. So each time you buy something, you get ribbon. And yeah, so I had meters and meters or yards and yards of this ribbon, and I was like, oh, I can use it as a base instead of, it'll be quicker than doing the sequin. No, it's not strong enough. You really need that sequin base. So for that reason alone, I feel like I should redo it. But also my beading technique and the results that I produce are just so much better now than they were then. So yeah, I kind of feel like I should redo it because it's such a beautiful tweed. Although, I don't know, in person, because there's fluoro colours in there, it kind of looks like it glows. And in footage and photos, it always looks black and white plus some random colours, but it's actually navy blue and white, and it's just the most amazing combination. I absolutely love it. And there's ribbons in there and all different textures. Like the white isn't just one white, it's several different types. Like one's a flossy viscose silken white and one's a dull one, another one's a fluffy one. There's just so much to look at when you're making a tweed jacket. There's a lot of hand sewing involved, so you see it really close. Like last month, I think I had this one out and I said, I always go for, this is me trying to show you that it's navy blue and white. Anyway, last month I was talking about the fluoro navy and cream one. I was like, when I go to the closet to get out a jacket in that particular color set, then I always go for the Chanel one. And and then I thought about it and I was like, actually, they don't look anything alike to anyone who hasn't worked on them. They look quite similar to me because if you look at them up really, really close, like you have to when you're stitching, then they've got the exact same color palette. But the two jackets just so different. And this is me shooting the film, the bit of footage for the intro. And then this is the Cinderella blue jacket. There's a Ladybird vintage picture storybook of Cinderella, and one of the three dresses that she wears, because it's a ball, there's 3 different balls on 3 different nights, is a blue dress with a red red trim, red ribbons threaded through the lace on it. And so the dress is blue and I call it Cinderella blue. I guess it's periwinkle. And I don't really like this beaded trim. If I did it again, I would take out the dark ones and the almost white ones and just do Cinderella blue beads in there. Because I made this. This is one of my really, really early jackets. So I have since bought more Cinderella blue beads because every time I see beads that color, I'm like, oh my God, I love this color. And this is me showing you. So it's a mohair tweed. These are quite rare. And I've got it in a green as well as the blue. I just went on Pinterest. Here's some photos. I think people just take photos of use their camera and take photos of the picture book that they have. So the colours aren't really great, but she does have a fabulous dress. And I like the trim well enough. I'll leave it on for now. But once I've made all my tweeds up into jackets, I think I won't buy any more because storing all of them, there's going to be like 200, more than 200 once they're all done. And I think I'll just, whenever I feel like making something, I'll take out one and redo it and make it better. So I am very tempted to make do a red triangle on the back of this one. I think that would be fabulous. I should do a video where I get out all the sort of semi-related jackets like this one and the green and cream mohair one. it'd be good to see those two together. And then the 3 jackets that I made out of that cream fabric that I did the orange beading on, I should get those 3 out. This one is really beautiful. But see how some of the paler blue ones, they sort of look almost white. They're not. When you look at them up close, you can tell how blue they really are. But when put next to the other ones, they almost seem white. So yeah, I don't know. It's fine for another 5 years or so. And then next we have the Barbie Learns to Code jacket, which I love. It looks like in the Matrix, that green, the data goes in lines. And this jacket just looks like that, but pink. So it's like Barbie Learns to Code. And I had that tie sitting around because I used it last episode when I made that layer cake dress. And it goes really well with this. I've got a dress, a short summer dress in the colours of that. That tie is just the leftover fabric after I made the short dress. So I might wear this Barbie Learns to Code jacket with that, the dress that matches that particular sash. Anyway, me getting distracted. This fabric is pretty amazing. I think I bought this at Mood Fabrics in New York. I know it's from New York City. And I had it for ages and I did not know how to, back then I was doing beaded trim. So I made a beaded trim sort of accentuating the brown and black of the base part of the tweed. And it just did not work at all. And then I started doing this beading, but I didn't do it over. See how there's some white dots in there as well as all the pink ones? I did it and I didn't cover any of the white dots and it didn't look right. So I carefully took them all off and I did it again and covered most of the white, and it's just amazing. Like the difference when you get the beading right to when you do it wrong at the first or second attempt. It's just a phenomenal, the difference it makes. Oh, and this, I had to show you this silk lining. It's an Italian silk lining. Sometimes like Italian silk lining is just ridiculously expensive because it's so high quality and it's amazing. And sometimes they have only a yard left and they can't really sell a yard because most people only buy this sort of silk to make a dress out of, so they need at least 3 yards, or to make a silk blouse out of, so they need, for a blouse you generally need 2 yards. And so if there's any less than that, then they sometimes sell it at almost half price. So it's still pretty expensive. But you can get some amazing designs that you would not otherwise be able to afford. Well, I wouldn't. And yeah, it's amazing. But then I went and I wasted it on this jacket. I mean, I love this. This is an Italian wool tweed, so it's incredible, but the way I beaded it is so disappointing. Like I was in film school when I made this one, and I did the base of the beaded trim, and I was just really busy, and I was like, okay, I'll use those big beads. And I hate those big plastic ones. I absolutely hate them. Like the jacket is beautiful. It took forever to make. The silk lining is absolutely gorgeous. And then I made this beaded trim with possibly the cheapest beads I have in my entire bead collection. Like price doesn't necessarily mean beautiful or the highest quality. Sometimes things are expensive just because they happen to be in fashion, and sometimes something will be out of fashion and you get it for an absolute bargain price. But yeah, so I really do need to redo that one because the silk lining is amazing. It feels beautiful, but then you look down at the beaded trim and I'm always just like, yuck. This one, on the other hand, these frosted orangey amber beads are just amazing. And this tweed is just fabulous. Linton Tweeds in the UK hardly ever do this type of tweed because it's just so complex and such a rite of colour. They tend to be more disciplined in their use of colour. But this one is just amazing. I love it so much. And this is me showing you that it's an orange silk era jacket. So it was this is really early. I was still doing 3/4 sleeves, which I do not like. And I'm not a big person by anyone's standards. But I don't know, 3/4 sleeves, stay away from them. They make you look chunky. And also, I guess because I get cold, like drinking cold water, like I don't really drink alcohol much, probably because most alcohol is served cold and it just makes me cold. So yeah, I really do prefer a full length sleeve. And yeah, but apart from that, I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. So many colours in there. And I did not know what colour beading to do. And this colour beading looks amazing. But once something's on, you can't imagine it with anything else. But until I did it, I was like, what colour should I do? What should I do for the beading? Anyway, that is it for this video. I got a little bit carried away with filming my jackets, didn't I? It takes so long to make every single one. And when you get them out, I just fall in love with them again. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I loved about this one. This is what was a pain to make when I was making it. This was the really painful part. And this one's just so cute and adorable. I really love it. And yeah, I don't do those faux pocket tops anymore. Because, I mean, it does use up more beads and I am trying to use up my bead collection, but I have such a slight frame. The pocket tops, they just sort of make people realise that there's something wrong about my proportions. And if I don't have pocket tops, then people don't think about, my size relative to other people. They just it doesn't occur to them, which is what I prefer. That Cinderella blue. Oh, and this, I love all of them for different reasons. I'm like, oh, Barbie learns to code. Or this one, on the other hand, I do not like. It just could be so much more than it is. Sometimes you love the potential rather than the actual. But I mean, the tweed is gorgeous. The Italian wool tweed and the silk lining is just divine. But yeah, the beading's a disappointment on that one. This one, really happy with it. So cool. Kind of looks like one of those 1960s tweeds. Really conservative from far away, but the closer you get, it's just like an absolute, just anarchy. There's every colour in there. It's so amazing. I like the spearmint, that sort of pale green. It's just amazing. It totally doesn't belong, but it somehow harmonizes with everything. Speaking of a rite of color, I better get back to my brown one. Actually, I think I'll just snuggle into my blanket and feel sorry for myself. My throat is so sore. But I have cut out the bodice for this one and it is looking very fabulous. I got this fabric from Spotlight stores, but they only deliver in Asia. So a couple of you have asked. I do know that this style of print, William Morris style floral print, Fabworks in the UK is a fabric store that delivers around the world, and also Liberty of London, of course, often have really classic and historical prints. I don't know what their current collections are, but just generally speaking, they do. So yeah, that is it for this episode. Thanks again for watching. I hope you've been inspired to make your own Chanel style jacket, and happy sewing and beading and wearing the lovely garments you made for yourself.